Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me one quick favor, see that little black subscribe button on the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Really does help this channel grow, my audience grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. Also, quick thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet $50 on any game. Get up to $1,111 in free bets courtesy of the Betfred Sportsbook. Thank you again. Now, here's the video that you came here for. How about we actually get to some of the on-the-field college football? Because this weekend was week 0, and there were actually some games that counted in the standings and mean something. And so what I want to do is just talk about some of the results from the weekend. And the one thing I do before we get too far into this segment, I'm going to pull the Jerry Maguire again. I'm not going to do what you all think I'm going to do, which is just completely overreact to week 0 in college football, which is what everybody does every year. Although I will say, sometimes it's weirdly accurate. Like last year when we all called for Scott Frost's job after losing in week 0 to Northwestern. 3 weeks later, he was out after losing to, I believe it was Georgia Southern. Anyway, let's talk a little week 0. And I do want to start with, obviously, look, the marquee game of the day, 2:30 Eastern. By the way, whoever put the schedule together for college football this year, total epic failure. There was no lead-in game. There wasn't even a lead-in pregame show for us to watch anywhere, but Notre Dame and Navy kick off in Dublin, the official start to the 2023 college football season. And all I'll say is this: how about them Irish? Just an absolute butt kicking as Notre Dame goes overseas, beats Navy, final score 42-3. Now, again, I promised I'm not going to overreact. It's Navy. They have a first-year head coach. Notre Dame should beat them by a significant margin, but I do think there are some things that you can take out of this game, and I think there are some, from a positive perspective, questions that you can ask about Notre Dame, including what the ceiling of this team might be, and is it actually higher than in years past? And if you go through all of our preseason content, all of the shows that we've done, what is the one thing I've consistently said when it comes to Notre Dame? I've said, look, for years since Brian Kelly got there, we know what they're all about. Running the ball, big O-line, physical O-line, great defense. And listen, the quarterback play is good, but not great, not going to beat themselves, Ian Book, Jack Cohn, etc. But the thing that I have said, and I get a lot of stuff wrong, so I'm not going to sit here and take a victory lap because for one game I looked pretty smart. But I have said consistently, this kid, Sam Hartman, is the real deal and the best quarterback Notre Dame has had for a significant amount of time. Just because you didn't watch him at Wake Forest doesn't mean he's not a baller, okay? All you need to do is look at the stats. I don't care what division, what conference, what league, what level. He threw for 77 touchdowns and 7,000 yards over the last 2 seasons at Wake Forest. Of course, 2 seasons ago, they won their division and played for an ACC title. And I said, look, if you have gotten across the board, C+, B- quarterback play, what happens at Notre Dame if you're actually getting really good quarterback play this year? Well, we got a taste of it on Saturday. Again, it's Navy, but it's hard not to be impressed, right? And I saw a lot of this on Twitter, and I actually agree with a lot of the guys and girls on Twitter. 2 things can be true. You could say it's only Navy, it's only this, it's only that, whatever. But you also have to give credit where it's due because Notre Dame did exactly what you wanted to see in an opening game performance in which they were heavily favored and proved to be correct. In terms of the game itself, listen, you go ahead and look. Again, 42-3 was the final score, but really the story is Hartman. Again, phenomenal player. By the way, for the record, if you listen to Friday's show, before week 0, I said this is my Heisman Trophy pick for all of the reasons that I just said. Well, heck of a debut for Sam Hartman, 19 of 23 passing, 251 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It's a long season. Not saying that, just book his ticket to New York now, but that's exactly what you wanted to see. And it complemented everything else that Notre Dame does so well. They finished the game pounding the football between the tackles. Again, I know it's Navy. Again, I know it's what's expected. But they averaged about 7 yards per carry. And again, That's something that you would think is going to translate throughout the season. If you have a quarterback that can stretch the field, if you have a quarterback that can hit deep balls, it completely changes the complexities of the offense. And I'm not an X's and O's guy, but at the same time, it allows for better running lanes. It allows for play action passes. And it is what has me so excited about this team. And then defensively, they did what they're supposed to do, right? 3 total points given up, just 1 sad little field goal at the end of the game. And in terms of total stats, Navy finished with under 200 yards of total offense. Now, you can say that's no big deal. You can say it doesn't matter, and maybe it doesn't, but it's also worth noting this. This same Notre Dame team struggled with this same Navy team last year, barely surviving, winning 35-32 in a game where Navy put up close to 400 yards, 363 yards of total offense. So great effort by the offense, great effort by the defense. And I'll tell you, I think there is legitimate reason to be excited about Notre Dame. And again, when you say this, I'm not saying they're better than Georgia. I'm not saying they're better than whoever you deem to be the best team in college football. But at the same time, look at the schedule and look at the possibilities for what this team could be by the end of the season. First off, 4 Saturdays from now, week 4, they host Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's really good. We just talked about them. We talked about my concerns. But let me just ask you this. Put aside the fact that as we record here, I don't know who the Ohio State quarterback's going to be, but who are you going to trust more in a game under the lights, 7:30 Eastern kickoff in South Bend? The 6th-year quarterback playing at home or the first-year quarterback? And I know Devin Brown's in his 2nd year in the system at Ohio State, Kyle McCord in his 3rd year. The first-year quarterback making his 3rd, 4th start of his career. Leg up Sam Hartman. Not saying it means they win, but I like the quarterback battle there. Obviously, against USC, listen, it goes without saying, USC is the best quarterback in college football. Caleb Williams, we'll talk about him and his week 0 performance in a minute. But at the same time, at home, by the way, Sam Hartman against a USC defense that I don't think any of us really trust, at least not as of right now. They're improved. The personnel is improved. They'll be better. But is that a defense that is going to slow down the good offenses that they play? Should mention, by the way, late in the year, certainly the toughest road game that Notre Dame will have all season long at Clemson, in early November. Just going to throw this out there. Remember, Clemson's part of the ACC. You know who else is part of the ACC? Sam Hartman's old team, Wake Forest. You know what Sam Hartman did last year against that Clemson defense? 337 yards, 6 touchdowns. I told you, this guy's a baller. He's been a baller. And so I'm just telling you, I'm not putting too much in week 1. I'm not putting too much on Sam Hartman's plate. And there are other tough games throughout the season. Duke should be much improved this year. They won 9 games last year in year 1 under Mike Elko. Notre Dame has to play at Duke. Notre Dame has to play at NC State in a few weeks. We'll see what NC State looks like because, oh, by the way, you know who NC State opens with? My UConn Huskies in week 1 this coming Thursday. Louisville should be improved under Jeff Brom. So I'm not saying if you survive, say, Ohio State and USC, you're going to the playoff. But what I will say, I'm excited to watch this team because the one thing, Brian Kelly set the foundation. Marcus Freeman is hopefully going to take it to another level, but I give Marcus Freeman credit. Last year, he went back to that ground and pound, and that was when Notre Dame really picked things up in the second half of the year after that slow start when they went 0-2. And so I just bring it up because I am really, really, really excited to see this Notre Dame team over the course of the season with Sam Hartman at quarterback. Not promising anything, but I think they have a chance to be really, really, really good. And I'll say this, you can like Notre Dame, you can hate Notre Dame, but with that schedule, if they get the win, if they finish 11-1, they're going to the playoff. And I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves. The only point I'm trying to make, they're going to have chances on national stages against national teams, against Caleb Williams and USC, against Ohio State, against Clemson. If they win the games they're supposed to, they're going to be a factor all year. We'll enjoy week 0 for now, but it's never too early to start thinking about the bigger picture of college football.